Rappin with ReefBum is sponsored by Champion Lighting and Supply, Polo Reef, and Fauna Marin.
Hey, what's happening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Rappin with ReefBum. I'm your host, Keith Berkelhamer. So on tonight's live stream, I welcome back Paul Allen, who is the president of the Boston Reefers Society and also the moderator of this live stream. So I don't know, man, who's watching the store? Who's minding the store tonight? I guess we're both gonna have to kind of like.
Yeah, I'll do that as well.
How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm living the dream, man. You know, as good as you can get. Doing what I can do. Stumbling over words.
I hear you. All right, so before we start chatting, I want to take care of some business and thank the sponsors of this live stream. Polo Reef, make sure to check out Polo Reef's new YouTube video that drops this Friday. The Polo Reef team dives deeper into the reef tank lighting. Many interesting topics are discussed and look at some interesting reef lighting products and techniques that are getting some attention. Make sure to subscribe to their YouTube channel at Polo Reef for video drop notifications. Champion Lighting and Supply, besides being a place for hobbyists to purchase saltwater aquarium supplies online, Champion Lighting is also a wholesale distributor for many popular brands. If you own an aquarium store or an aquarium service company, contact Champion Lighting through their website at championlighting.com to set up a wholesale account. And finally, Fauna Marin. I do use the Fauna Marin Reef IceCap Total Test Kit, which gives a quick, accurate, and easy overview of over 90 water values in reef aquariums, from macro elements, trace elements, and pollutants. You get a complete overview with corresponding dosage and action recommendations. I am a certified Fauna Marin IceCap test advisor, so if you want to select me, go for it, and can help you interpret those results. I also sell the IceCap test kits and other Fauna Marin products on reefbum.com. So, Paul, man, before we start talking about Boston Reefers Society and what's going on there and the ins and outs and running a club and what have you, what's going on? You've got a tank, man, right? You've got a reef tank, and you passed along a whole bunch of pictures and what have you to me, and I kind of scrambled to grab a few of them, but just give us a down low, man, on terms of the on the setup, and it's a new setup too, right?
Yeah, it's less than it's roughly right about a year old, probably 10 months. So I had, the last time I was on, I had 100-gallon CAD lights, pretty much wall-to-wall SPS, 80-gallon frag tank tied in common sump. That thing was wall-to-wall, SPS, LPS, torches, all the name pieces, this, that, the other thing. And then, so this is like the current state, the picture that you can see on, on the screen now. It's a little less messy because that was still like all under setup in construction. So I had the bright idea, right? Last October, I was like, all right, I wanted to do an 84 by 36 by 24 tall tank, but I also didn't want to spend $8,000 to $10,000 on a glass box. So I was like, all right, in a meter marine, I can get a peninsula tank. Whatever. I think I paid $4,000 for it, right? Like all said and done, custom sump through like Synergy Reef Systems, not knocking used products or like, Chinese stuff or products or whatever. Like, any system I've ever had over the course of the years has always been like secondhand stuff. And again, I'm not knocking that stuff where, people take care of things work great, et cetera, et cetera. This time around, I was like, you know what? I have the money. I'm going to spend the money on the things that I want. So like I already had GHL controller, I had some GHL stuff like that prior to from the last system. So I only upgraded some stuff. I definitely swapped out. I went from an 8-bulb ATI T5 fixture. Basically on and off. Grows like metal halides, grows anything. Blanket coverage of light. I've always been intrigued and liked the look of the GHL fixtures. I've had Ecotech, I've had this and that, you know what I mean? I just never had the opportunity to be like, all right, I got $4,000 to spend on some lights or something like that. And, I know you had done already, your Peninsula setup with the 6 light, and like I copied your light
that
rack
looks
design.
familiar, right? It's a great little design though, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because I was trying to figure out, I was like, all right, how
Hang
am
'em.
I gonna, set this off, hang it, etc. I was trying to, come up with like maybe 80-20 coming off a wall, or doing like some type of like threaded, not cast iron, but some type of, aluminum pipe or something like that, like one end suspended, but the other end like mounted, into a stud or something like that. So where the tank sits currently, there used to be a wall there. So I took a wall down. I mean, you can kind of see from that picture right there. Like there's X kitchen cabinets still on the wall, minus the faces. But I mean, there was like a full small kitchen, family room, et cetera, et cetera. I had two tanks in like an L configuration. And so I took a wall down, had my buddy Chris A, he's from Boston Reefers, long time, friend and hobbyist, whatever, came, did the floors for me throughout the, basically a remodel. But the thing that really sucked is like I started this in like October and November of last year. And we all know how finicky SPS is. I feel like this is like the same broken, whatever, the last time I was on the stream, talking about like changes or like significant changes. So I had a 300-gallon Rubbermaid tub in a garage in, south of Boston, Mass, cold as hell, middle of like December, January. My father, I live with my father, who's 79 years old, not blaming him, but he tends to leave the doors open at certain points. So there's been like a few occasions where I've gone out in the garage in the morning and it's literally like ambient air temps, 4 degrees. And like, I had the 300-gallon tub, Rubbermaid trough, like elevated on cinder blocks, wrapped with R19. I had a 1-inch thick, like PVC, not PVC, like insulated, whatever foam. And I just manually adjust like temp from, like covering it at night, taking it off during the day, et cetera, et cetera. Everything was good. And then when it started getting real cold, like I had 2,000 watts of heaters in there, and like it started to get like those nights where the door was magically left open. I'm not going to blame him 100% because it might have been myself. You know what I mean? But it's always easier to pass the buck. But yeah, he's the suspect. My kids are suspect. I mean, I'm a suspect. Who knows? Maybe it was the ghost tripping the beam and leave. The door went back up or whatever. But yeah, I mean, like. I went from literal, like a 4-foot by 2-foot tank, wall-to-wall sticks, and probably 2-foot by 3-foot wall-to-wall sticks, and then all high-end torches, et cetera, right? 5 years, blastos, all the stuff that costs money, right? And then I had such like temperature fluctuations that like things were swinging probably like 12 to almost 20 degrees a day.
That's a big swing.
Yeah, that's a huge swing. And the crazy thing is, like our VP of PR, Joe Scava, like he and I, we got invited out to Lyra's event last year. Sister Club, whatever. And, yeah, so we went out to that, went out to dinner and stuff. And I was like telling them, and all those guys, they were like, "Dude, if you can wait till the spring," and I'm like, "I have to do it now. It's the only opportunity I have to have like the remodeling done, have the floors done, et cetera, et cetera." Because mind you, again, prior to going live, like, yeah, I do have a back issue, whatever. So I like to think I can do a lot of things myself, and then like I'll attempt to do it like construction wise, and then I'll be laid up for 3-4 days. So, I have some good friends in the hobby or whatever, and they were like, hey, like, obviously we're not going to charge you the stupid money or whatever, basically cost, so like, I mean, I got like a $10,000 floor job, the whole downstairs of the house for like the cost of materials. I might have thrown $1,000 or something like that,
Nice.
So we did that, but with the fluctuations in temperature, it was definitely detrimental to a lot of mainly the SPS. So
your collection took a pretty big hit.
Yeah, to say the least. So I mean, it went from like kind of like I was talking with you earlier before we started the show, like dealing with the back thing of like disappointing having the wind taken out of the sails. So I went to like, all right, cool. I'm finally going to have a nice tank and like a nice setup, like everything, high end, et cetera, to like, like got it all set up and just watched like pieces or, mini colonies of colonies literally just melt over the course of like the next 6 months to the point where I've become like sick to my stomach, and I'm like, Jesus, even the amount of money I've spent on all this you know, whatever. It obviously doesn't, you know, like save anything, but like it just took the wind out of my sails, and I was like, I can't even recoup. Like, even if I just said whatever, if somebody came down and with a truck and gave me 10 grand cash, like I'd help them load it in and take like a significant hit, just from like the sickening feeling. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. I'm kind of getting back into it now.
Well, you know what the bright spot,
you know?
man, is that you've got a great setup. You know, you've got the foundation laid. All right, so the collection took a hit, but you know you know, you went high end with the tank. You know, I love the stand. Is that a custom stand, or was that a?
That's actually the stock stand that comes from Innovative Marine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just it's similar to like 80/20 style. It's just extruded aluminum. You know, put it together, kind of like an IKEA thing. You know, you turn the locking nut and it locks in place, and super lightweight. Yeah, I mean, it's a nice tank for the money. You know what I mean? Like, I can't say. I talked to a few different people, like, you know, social media people, other people that were in the club that had that type of setup. And again, you know, it's not like my ideal dream size tank that I was hoping for, but
still, man,
it was 4 grand versus 10.
I mean, that's
you know?
something that's going to last you for a long time, you know. And I just love the Peninsula tanks. You know, at first I was like, oh, geez, man, flow in that Peninsula tank kind of sucks. But you know, you eventually kind of figure it out, and you know, the way I set it up with all the MP40s and MP60s is probably not gonna win any, you know, contests in terms of hiding, you know, pumps and equipments and power cords and all that stuff. But it works, man. So I think you did well, Paul. I think the Mitras, I think, are kick-ass. I have never had lighting that has generated such great growth in colors as the Mitras, and I'm an old school metal halide guy, so you know, I think that's a statement in itself. So I think you made a wise investment, you know, with all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I try to pitch, you know, and again, I mean, I'm just this kind of a running joke, you know, like on the forum, whatever. I don't know if it's active or not, because I like to say I'm just another bozo on the bus. Like, I'm nobody special, you know, like, and like, so Joe Scavo was talking to him earlier, and he's like, dude, I got like a funny joke, like a drinking game for like the members on the forum. Like, every time I say bozo on the bus, somebody gonna take a shot type of deal. Right? So, like I said, I mean, like, I'm not, you know, like GHL definitely is a sponsor of the club, you know what I mean? Like, but that, I don't get any monetary gain from saying like, hey, this is what I use and this is what I like. I've used every light manufacturer under the sun, other than like the newer stuff that's coming out now. I've just always been intrigued by GH's build quality and like commitment to customers, you know what I mean? You know, I've never been a fan of like, you know, Apex or, you know, Neptune or whatever and various stuff. Like, I keep it simple to the point of like, even getting back in the hobby 20 years ago, like I ran tons of power heads. Like, I have tons of power heads in this tank right now, 20 years later, you know? And,
well, you know, you use what you like. And, you know, I mean, I have a material connection to GHL. I sell their stuff, and I've had, you know, a lot of stuff I've collaborated with them on in terms of you know, stuff, doing videos and all that sort of thing. But you know, me personally, in terms of equipment and stuff, I'm not going to use anything that I don't really truly believe in is going to be good for my tank and my corals and my animals. So you know, that's, but you know, I get it. You know, there's a lot of there's a lot of you know, things in this hobby in terms of connections and sponsorships and stuff, and I'm guilty as charged, but I like to believe that I'm not going to be touting stuff and using stuff that I truly don't believe will make my corals you know, thrive.
Yeah, no, I completely get it. I mean, that's a great way to, you know, be and to like run a business. Like, anybody can say like, you know, chase this number, chase that number, use this product because they read it or heard about it or something, and like their tank looks like my tank, like an accidental abomination, you know, versus you know, something like yours, you know.
So
I'm just on that.
I was going to say, Corey Page just put a beer emoji out there, and Joe Scavo said bottoms up. So I think you're going to have to say it again, dude.
Yeah. Me and Joe Scavo, we're both a couple of bullets on
There you
the
go,
bus.
bottoms
So
up, folks.
just like a brief behind that, he grew up in the town next door to me, and like, there's always been like a Quincy North Weymouth, Quincy Weymouth rivalry, or a lot of smack talk back and forth, and like obviously with the club and over the years and more involvement, like I consider him a close friend today, and we still like to bust each other's balls, so to speak, So we'll definitely, if I drank, I'd be slugging one back right now, but I do have a jug of water.
There you go. So in terms of rebuilding the collection, are you focused on name pieces, or are you now kind of potentially focusing that attention on stuff that just what you're thinking?
Yeah, I'm definitely not like as like balls to the wall, like I have to have the latest and greatest, you know what I mean? Like I had Rainbow Splice, the Fruity Pebbles, like the name pieces, whatever. I mean, like I've gotten corals from you, like graciously or whatever. You've given me some corals, and like thankfully, like those corals are now living in someone else's tank currently until like I can wrap my head up, basically get my tank to the point where everything is, because I didn't really use any live rock from the last system. You know what I mean? Like I ran Reef Moonshiner's products. I didn't do a water change for like almost 3 years, etc. Like everything was growing like phenomenally. And then I had the mishap, whatever called, osmosis, whatever happened. And then I bought a bunch of like Australian live rock. I cured it. I'm not saying it's that, but I do have a bunch of dry rock that I just needed for like on the wear end of the tank. Like I needed some elevation for that particular scape, and I'm fighting like stupid high phosphate levels. So I'm like, oh, let me I bought a couple of reactors, one for granulate, GFO, one for carbon. They work great and and then I'm like, now I just have them shut off, and I'm like dripping lanthanum chloride into the skimmer. But I'm at the point where like I almost have the drive and the bug back in me. You know what I mean? Like just went out to Lyra last month, got invited out to their show again. We went out there, hung out with those guys, like, saw some systems, talked with some people, etc. Kind of got the bug back, but like to answer your question, I know I'm going off topic. Like, no, I'm not into like, I don't care if it's a green bird's nest, at this point. Like, I just want to take things simple and see how the system does.
Smart.
You know what I mean? Like, let the rock mature. You know what I mean? Because like I went from because my last system, some stuff was dry rock, but the majority of it was like 15-year-old, seeded system that's been laying around forever. Haitian live rock, like whatever, Fiji rock, real dense stuff. You know what I mean? And then like, I mean, this particular rock that I have, like I bought, from Pristine Marine Aquariums in Long Island. It's pricey. It's good looking stuff.
Is this
like I always
the
wanted
Australian?
that. Like, yeah, the Australian. Like really not like French Rich Colombo in the chat. He's got the same rock in his tank, and it's doing amazing.
What are they charging per pound for that stuff?
I don't know offhand. Maybe $25. I really don't know offhand.
Expensive.
Like I could pull it up just for the hell of it. Like, I don't want to say like I got it at a cost, but I definitely, because of like my relationship with Jason, the owner, and like buying X amount, obviously got some type of a deal. And I mean, I still spent, $1,500, $2,000 on rock, and then stuck it, and it had all that amazing coralline and like beneficial bacteria, and I stuck it in a dark tub and just let it cure for 6 months. So I basically bought it for the shape at this point, you know what I mean? But I mean, like I like the look of it. There's I guess it's
Sturgis Reef is saying 23 is what I got it for.
Yeah, so because on his website right now, like you can buy whatever 10 pounds for $250.
Yeah.
But he's at all the shows, whatever. It's like anything else. The more you buy in bulk, you get better deals and stuff like that. So I mean, I like the look of the rock. Like I have an image of like a floating aquascape, with that type of branch rock.
This is not in the tank right now, right? You start curing it? You're still curing it?
No, it's been in the tank. I cured it before the tank
Okay.
even got wet, and it's been in the tank since. It's been in the tank for probably 8 months at this point. It's just that I had a couple of big boulders that I needed some more elevation of just dry rock that was never cured. It was like fresh out of the ground type of behind my shed, for years. And I was like, quick rinse with like the hose sprayer in the kitchen, never soaked in any fresh water, never tested it, no salt water, no heat, nothing like that. And I just dropped it in the tank and literally been battling like high nutrients ever since. But I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm starting to now get the bug back, and like I'm looking forward. Like, and again, I'm not sponsored by anybody whatsoever. Like, I do run Reef Moonshiners program. I just started implementing that methodology within the last like 3 weeks, and like stuff that was like gray and like 99.99% dead has got like color and polyps.
Nice.
So I don't know if it's my parameters are getting back in line, or it's the addition of like the additional trace elements.
Are you doing like a lot of ICP testing with Oshimo and all that stuff, and doing that program?
I have in the past on the last system. This system, like when I was piecing it together, like I bought, I don't know, 6 or 8 ATI ICP tests just because they were a little less expensive than the Oshimo. I think were like 65 bucks. And I was like, yeah, I can't spend $1,000 on test kits. Like, that's crazy. You know what I mean? So, like the way I ran Moonshiners on the last system, like the first 4 months, like I did it religiously, like every 4 to 5 weeks is, whatever. And then I could stretch it out. Once I figured out like what my system was consuming in terms of, uptake of whatever, whatever, like calcium, alkalinity, stuff, the basic 3, and then like maybe boron, fluoride always seems to be low, and once I could get like a baseline of like 3 to 4 months, I stretched it out to like every 6 to 8 weeks I was sending a test. And then when the introduction of like the Oshimo test came into play, I was like, oh, let me try that. But I still always go back to the ATI just because they're a little bit cheaper. You know what I mean? I haven't tried the Fauna Marin one yet, but I definitely hear good things from them.
Well, I'm a little biased on that, I'll admit that.
So not to put anyone's name out there, we both know this individual in the industry, but last October, like literally right before I took the last system down, I sent some corals out to this individual, and he's like, I can't believe the coloration, like what are you doing? And sent him like the information on Reef Moonshiners, but he uses the same system but all Fauna Marin products, and he's like, dude, I can't believe it's literally night and day. Like in the 20 years that I've been keeping like coral, it's night and day difference. And then, he's from the East Coast. He came back home and he didn't have stuff set up on a doser. So for like 3 weeks, stuff didn't get dosed. And he's like, he went home and he's like, I can't believe, again, night and day, like the drastic decolorization of corals just in that 3 week span of not dosing your, whatever, rubidium, iodine, et cetera, et cetera, but yeah, I mean, like I'll pitch, either methodology, like I said, I'm not sponsored by them whatsoever. I've been running that methodology for 3 years now, and like
happy with it.
Yeah, I'm happy with it, so there's that anyways.
Well, so obviously you've got kind of like a blueprint, man, in terms of, how you can kind of get back to that promised land in terms of what, you were enjoying, success-wise before. So, yeah, it sucks, man. I mean, this hobby, there's always something in terms of that can kind of like set you back, drag you down a little bit, and you got to be very resilient. It's you got to be in it for the long haul, because it can definitely be frustrating. There's just so many different things that could happen. So that's
I'm kind of taking a little bit of backseat again, to like touch on my chase, and like, yeah, sure, I'd love to get some high end pieces in there eventually, but like I have a good friend, I got him a tank, didn't take care of it, killed it, got him another tank, a bigger tank, smaller tank. He had that for like 2 years, packed it with corals. He's in a wheelchair, so like whatever. I was like trying to help him out, like mental health wise or whatever.
Oh, good for you.
And then he called me probably a couple of months ago, and he was like, listen, I can't do it anymore. Do you want it back, or like I'm just going to sell it? I said, yeah, I'll come pick it up. And got a bunch of softies and stuff like that, dude. Like, I mean, half dead softies. It's pretty bad when you can kill like softies. And you know, I put stuff like on the, you know, the furthest point away from the weir, where that light is lower light for like LPS, and like it looks good. Like there's a couple of gorgonians, there's a couple of finger leathers, like there's a toad suit. There's like actual stuff in life and like movement. You
That's
know
always
I mean?
like
So,
what draws people to a reef tank that are not real reef keepers. They're like, oh, I like that stuff.
Yeah, I remember back in 05, like, you know, was just getting wet with like SPS and like Bird's Nest and like whatever, you know, genius and you know, names, you know, it wasn't even really names, you know, might have been a green slime or a Miami Hurricane or, you know, XYZ, you know, bottle brush something or other. But like I remember like friends coming over and like out of everything in terms of animal wise, they'd see like the 12-cent hermit crab. You're like, oh, dude, that's amazing. Like, I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Look at this thing that doesn't move. It just cost me $400. You know what I mean? And they're like, oh, I'm getting a tank. You know, spending thousands of dollars to get hermit crabs. You know?
Yeah,
it's
crazy.
crazy.
It's the same thing. I mean, I've got like, you know, I got SPS dominant systems, and I got like one branching hammer in one of my display tanks, and people like just get drawn to like, wow, look at that thing, it's moving and stuff like. Don't you see these beautiful sticks, man? All the different colors and stuff. It's like, oh well, you know, it's not moving, but.
I know.
So
it takes a certain kind of person.
A sick person, I guess. So when are you going to be ready for pieces?
I
got a lot of stuff to give you, man. You know, so you know we're going to see each other in a few weeks.
I'll take the ride up. Hey, I was joking around with Ben. He goes by Neverloss, and I made a comment, you know, because I have a 2004 Subaru Forester, like XT 5-speed, like souped up, you know, the stupid car, whatever, like reliving my youth. And I made some comments about like, oh, one of these days, like I'm gonna drive it up to Keith's house, and you know, like made a comment about the, you know, the particular Subaru whatever comment that was probably shouldn't be mentioned. And he was like, started laughing. He's like, dude, I'm in a Subaru Forester right now. And I'm like, that's pretty, all bet newer. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I think things are good right now. Like I'm dosing everything, you know, like trace wise to a T. Like I just tested, you know, the big three. Like I don't really test alkalinity. Like I have a big calcium reactor. Pretty much set it and forget it. I do have the KH director for like just data, and like I don't even have it turned on. It's connected.
So you're not testing with it?
I do, like when I think about it, but like I said, like I bought it. Like I had it years ago, and then when I got the calcium reactor, I was like, I'll just run the calcium reactor, and like once I get that dialed in, like I mean, it's kind of. I don't know. I don't have the water volume and or amount of uptake in like the big three as say yourself or other, you know, aquarists or whatever, you know, people in the industry or whatever. But the last system, like it was spot on. Like it never really fluctuated. Every once in a while, I would have to like lower my set point. So I do let the controller dictate how much CO2 gets injected into the calcium reactor, right? Like I don't do the bubble count in the old school like methodology. I trust GHL's product not to tell me that the pH is screwy, and it's like I can, you know, manually test it or test it, you know, via the KH director, like, you know, whether it's Hannah or Saliford or even like the ICP testing, and they're all pretty much identical.
Good.
Within like a couple of thousandths, you know what I mean, of a percent or a point. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, I like gear, you know, like much like yourself or anyone else in today's day and age. And you know, I think I might have went a little overboard on gear, and you know, but whatever, it makes me happy. It's cool to have.
You know, I've found that you know, over time, that simple usually means that things are going to be better with a reef tank. So the fewer bells and whistles. I've experimented over the years recently and tried different things, and you know, the more equipment you add, the more complex it becomes, the more variables that are in play, and so I've kind of tried to like scale back that stuff and and go a little bit back to the roots in terms of the way it used to be, and not have a lot of things running the tank. So I don't know. There's many different ways to reef, and that's cool. I don't I'm not making judgments on anybody if they like to you know, employ the toys and all that sort of thing. But you know, when things get a little rough, then I think always being trying to be simple and scaling things back potentially be
Yeah.
you know, helpful.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that statement. You know, it's nice to have the cool gear, but like it's not necessary really. You know what I mean? Like I never ran prior to my last system. Like I didn't have any bells and whistles, and you know, like I had whatever. You know, the basic on off. You know, the lights came on a $10 charger. Yeah, I mean, not charger, like a timer, and you know, PC lights.
Oh, I got burned by a frickin' timer a few months ago, man. Like an old school. I don't maybe it was a digital timer or something like that. It stayed on, and yeah,
stayed
one
on.
of my frag
Yeah,
tanks.
absolutely.
Lost some purple
So
monster. Lost my purple monster coming
yeah,
up.
yeah, that's no fun. Yeah, I mean, I try to, like, since I set this system up, you know, 8 months ago or whatever it was, like I just started implementing the ICP testing again. You know, I just started, like, I was doing water changes, 100-gallon water change here, 100-gallon water change there, et cetera, and like trying to go back to the basics. Like, I mean, I do have Catamorpha in my sump, but I feel like I don't know. I mean, it's good for nutrient export, but I feel like it's not amazing. You know, like any other type of macroalgae.
I really tried very hard to use Kato, and it just, man, for a few years, and it just didn't work out. Whether it was an algae reactor or putting it in the refugium or bucket refugium, I just couldn't freaking keep it alive over time. You know, crashed.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of on the same way, and like I mean, I dose iron daily just for, you know, it's recommended. You know, I'm sure Fauna Marin or you know, any of those other type of methodologies, Triton or whatever. Like when you have macroalgae, it's a dose iron. You know, because it's sucking a lot of the stuff that we're adding back in daily. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I just kind of use it for. I don't even know why I use it, to be honest.
I mean, I was using it for
phosphate
right. I was,
control,
you know,
you
for
know
nutrient
what I mean?
control, right? I mean, that's something that was what I was using it for. Yeah. So, all right. So I think we've kind of alluded to the well, we talked about Boston Reefers Society. Just quickly, man, or not quickly. Can you give everyone like a rundown what the club is all about? You're the president of the Boston Reefers Society. How long has it been around? What are you guys all about? I'm a member. So, you know, dig the club. Got to be part of a reefing club.
Yeah, so, yeah, as you said, my name's whatever. I'm Paul. I'm the president of the Boston Reefers Society. We've been around since the club incorporated back in 2002. What can I say?
What's there to say?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, the club's yeah, the club's been it's been around since 2002. Yeah, I just got brain dead. I lost my train of thoughts. Like my duties as president, you know, realistically is all right. So getting back to that, like we're in our 22nd year. We're a 501c3 nonprofit educational organization. Obviously, we have a mission statement. It's always been about education. So, like, just to rattle off, I have some notes. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm a smart guy because some other folks on the bus.
Up, drink.
Like our first purpose is like promoting interest and enjoyment in all aspects of the marine aquarium hobby, and then to educate the public on topics related to biology, physiology, and chemistry, and you know, conservation efforts and stuff like that. But yeah, I just totally lost a train of thought.
No worries, man. Yeah, so I mean, it's a great thing. I mean, I think reef keeping clubs are just so important because, you know, I don't know what happened. You know, in terms of COVID, I guess you know, some clubs maybe dissolved, other clubs just kind of went more electronic in terms of the meetings and stuff like that. you guys haven't gone back to in-person meetings, right? It's still Zoom, which is what sort of happened with the pandemic.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we haven't since. Yeah, exactly. Since the pandemic happened, we haven't gone back to in-person meetings. Mainly because of cost. You know what I mean? There's just everything's exponentially more, and like say for instance, like we could rent a hall, like whether it's a Knights of Columbus or nothing fancy, a typical whatever 4-hour thing, was like $300, $400. After COVID, it's now like
Really?
$1,600.
It jumped up like that?
Oh, it's stupid money. We used to use this like Knights of Columbus in Taunton, Mass. That was like $275 for like 6 hours. Like after COVID, it's like $800.
Wow,
like it's
that is crazy.
And I know it's not like we can't really base it off of. So like back in the day, like you'd have an in-person meeting, like would have a speaker come in, say like yourself, like would pay for your transportation, your flight, food, lodging, et cetera, and then the cost of the thing would be like $1,000 a weekend. Now that same thing is $2,000, $3,000. The club just doesn't have that kind of money. Like again, like it's a nonprofit. Like everything is based off of membership and sponsorship. Like or money that like us ourselves are pouring into it. You know what I mean? Because at one point, like the club was on a downward slide. Like it was a premier club, and then for a lot of years it was like on a downward slide, and then 2018, like again, I had this back injury and was able to donate some time, like bit of a network engineer, IT guy, call it whatever you want to call it, and I was like, oh, I can help out. So basically, since 2018, myself and Corey Page, like he's the vice president of the club. He's always in the chat here.
Yeah, hey Corey.
So I mean, we've been doing.
I see a lot of beer emojis by
full,
Corey's name.
Yeah. He works a full-time job, like 65, 70 hours a week. He's got a couple of daughters, got a wife, plus like the amount of work like behind the scenes. Like I know on the last time, you had me on a couple of years ago, like I was like, well, you know what it's like. There's behind the scenes, it's just stuff that people don't see. You know what I mean? It's almost like a full-time job without pay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've been kind of slacking off this year, which is good. We got a good group of guys. Chris Sturgis, he's Sturgis Reef, he's always in here. He's kind of taking over the website. He's like Doogie Howser of IT, which is great. That's not what he does for a living. Is he another
bozo on the bus?
He's another bozo on the bus. He definitely is. Yeah, he's definitely another bozo on the bus. But I mean, he's good. We got a good, decent crew right now, and like we're trying to get the club back to like where it once was as like the premier, or like I sent this to you in text. Like Boston's known as the hub, right? Like we're trying to make Boston Reefers become like the hub of the Northeast for any other like states or clubs. It's not just Boston Reefers. Like we have members in Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont. Obviously, you're a member. You're in Vermont. We have people in New York. Florida, California, it's all over the country. Like it doesn't really matter. But so just basically trying to get back like super into like the education piece and go forward with that.
In terms of the meetings and stuff and the in-person, what about at local fish stores? Is there any has there been any discussion with local fish stores where they don't charge you guys to meet, where you can kind of go in after hours when they're closed down and
I've talked with a couple. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I've talked to every one of them, because I haven't. They seem to be so few and far and spread out these days compared to 20 years ago, like any other small business. And so that there's one local to me. It's about an hour away, called All Things Aquatics. They've been a sponsor. They've been a fish store. They actually now they're appointment only. They're focusing more on like service and maintenance and design and that type of stuff, which is cool, good for them. You know what I mean? Like, but they've been vocal about like, hey, like, why don't we have a club meeting here? And like, whether it's during hours or we'll close early for that day, and we'll have like a meeting here, like a show off. We can offer X amount. Like, I'd love to do that. It just, I don't know. I don't want to sound like a Debbie Downer, but it seems like a lot of people or a lot of stores don't really want to get involved in that sense, which sucks. You know what I mean? Because like, it started off as this, it's a niche community anyways, and it grew exponentially, but now it's so much smaller and more saturated. To me, and this is only my opinion, it's like, how much money can I make? Da 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 da. Which is sure, if that's your bread and butter, that's your bread and butter. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of like, I don't know. There's a lot of good people. I know I said this the last time I was on. There's a lot of good people. There's a lot of, heroes in every aspect of the world, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to do stuff like we've had like member meeting, like cookout, BRS cookout, like at All Things Aquatics. Like, we have a store on the North Shore that I was in talks to, and then, it just fell through. It just didn't happen. Like, again, like, I'm just a bozo on the bus like everyone else. You know what I mean? It's funny. It's funny because, like, I'm not saying I do this, I do that, I do that. Like, there's 9 of us, right? There's president, vice president, VP of PR, secretary, treasurer, and 4 board of directors. Like we have a good group. I'm not crapping on anybody. Like,
it's tough, man. But like you said, these are all volunteer jobs.
We're all volunteers. Everyone's busy. You know what I mean? Like, I can't be the only one, or Corey can't be the only one, or Dave, or whatever. It's always like somebody's picking up, where someone else is slacking off, type of deal. And then, like, with the loss of like what I lost and the upgrade and the this and that, like having the sales, the wind taken out of my sales.
It's tough.
And it's definitely tough. It's not an easy thing. Like, I'd love everybody to like me. Like, I think I'm one of the most easiest people to get along with. I like to laugh. I like to smoke and joke, even though, I don't smoke, but whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, transitioning away from your question every time you ask. Scavo earlier was like, dude, just be yourself. Don't be anxious. Like, you'll be fine. Like, everybody likes you. You're a good guy. Like, you're funny. Da da da. And I'm like, dude, I'm sweating. Like, I'm gonna throw up. Da da da. I don't know why I get like that, because I can literally talk a cat off a tuna boat. You know what I mean? Like, can't have a shot up. You know what I mean? But like ADD to the max, where you're like, I think the same question last time. Like, what's it like running a local reef club? And I was like, oh, let me tell you about this internet tough guy. You know what I mean? Like, so it is.
Well, I mean, listen, man, I want to thank you for what you've done. It is a thankless job, and I think a lot of things are behind the scenes, so people kind of don't see what's going on. And you guys are putting on a big frag swap coming up in November, and man, that's got to be a shit ton of work.
Sir. Yeah, it's I'm glad you brought it up, because that's we started in 2022. Just I mean, you were there as a vendor. We started in 2022, and again, to like align with our mission statement, it's always been about education and what we can do to help promote the hobby. And I was on your show, and at the particular time, I won't mention that person's name, but somebody to do with Polo Reef, like, was like, hey, got in contact with me, and like, we want to be involved, and da da da. And we had a gentleman that, no longer with us, passed away, longtime club member, kind of pioneer of the marine ornamental trade. Like, where in like the 60s and 70s, he was like supplying, fish and invertebrate and stuff like that to, Long Island Aquarium, Boston, New England Aquarium, aquariums around the country, like importing stuff, et cetera, et cetera. And like, like, he passed away, and we started a marine science and conservation scholarship in his name. And with the help of Andrew Sandler, was graciously enough to, we started 2 $5,000 scholarships. He, donated $5,000. And with the help of the gentleman that passed away's kids, and his grown kids, and then, money driven through whatever raffles, donations, et cetera, the club came up with the rest of the money. And then we awarded 2 $5,000 scholarships. So we got to run it again. Last year we didn't do Frags giving because it was like time sensitive or whatever, and we actually partnered with the Marine Magnet Science High School down in Groton, Connecticut. The guy Eric Litfinoff and Mike, like they're the educators, and they teach about aquaculture and this and that, and it was cool. And like we did a project with them, and this year we're doing obviously Frags giving again. So it'll be November 9th, Topsfield Fair, 207 Boston Street. It's opens at 10:30 a.m. to the public. There's like 30 plus dry goods and like coral fish vendors, and then we got a pretty damn good lineup of educators. So we have Chris Meckley's coming in.
Is Meckley still coming in? I haven't talked to him.
As far as I know,
talked to him like right after the hurricane.
I know he just dealt with the hurricane. I haven't talked to him since, but he was definitely on board. We booked him to come in, give like a presentation on the soup to nuts of where he started in his garage to where ACI Aquaculture is like the largest or one of the largest, aquaculture facilities in the country. Richard Ross is coming in. He's going to give a presentation. I don't want to give away like his particular thing. It's like all the different methodologies. There's 10 ways to skin a cat, et cetera, et cetera. So he's going to give some type of presentation. We got Mark Levinson coming in. He's going to give a presentation. We also have Andrew Sandler is going to give a small presentation on like fish disease, and he's bringing Dr. Alex Hall, the fish vet, with him.
Oh, cool.
So they're going to kind of tag team something as well. And this time around,
dude, that's like an A-list lineup you got going there.
Yeah. It'll be a real good show. Like it should be a really good show. We're not trying to be the new Magna. We're not trying to be, like the new Reef Stock or whatever, anything like that. But like we're definitely trying to put the education to the forefront. And I mean, that's pretty much what we're doing. We got some really good sponsors. We got some, like Todd from Champion Lighting, he just became like a flagship sponsor of the event, and a sponsor of the club and stuff like that, and like that helps out. Andrew, so we could only get in touch with one of the recipients of like the scholarship from, it was created in 2022 but awarded last year. So we were able to get in touch with, there's a woman that's studying, PhD in like marine science conservation, something, just goes to like University of Hawaii. So Andrew is paying for her flight and her hotel to fly her to come to Topsfield for like a presentation of like, this is what myself and Boston Reef is about. Like it's about helping, to educate and stuff like that. So that'll be cool, get a decent raffle, it'll be a good time.
Can I put some corals in the raffle?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. You can do anything you want.
Well, not anything.
You can even. Yeah, no. You got my permission. You can take over for all I care.
That could be tough.
I shouldn't say it like that, but yeah, I mean, we got like a star-studded lineup. I know it's tough, like a lot of with the internet age and a lot of like. TikTok, influencers, whatever, like it's easy to find information, but why not listen? Like I'm old school, right? Like I got into the hobby in 2004, 2003, 2004. My first event was Magnet 16 hosted by Boston Reefers in Boston. Like I went there with a 2.5-year-old and a two-week-old. And I was like starstruck. I remember seeing like Mark Levinson, David Saxby, and I was like, holy shit, I read about him in Mike Pauletta's like Marine Aquarium, book like that I paid $50 for or whatever, and like, just like, I mean, they're no different than anyone else. No. They're just another bozo on the bus, right? So, it is what it is. I'm not trying to get anyone drunk here, but I will because I'm having fun, right? But it's it's cool. There's a lot of people that want to stick to the roots and stick to the education. You know what I mean? And again, like our mission statement has always been about the education. Like. It's not about us making money, because it would be great. It'd be cool to do the show and be like, holy shit, we netted $15,000, but more than likely it ain't going to even hit $1,000, and you know, we got a food truck again. What else? We got merch. You know, those 4 speakers. You know, the presentation. You know, from Andrew about the woman that's in the PhD program. Raffle.
Is it going to be the same setup as the last time? Basically, the speakers will be kind of like speaking on the floor, so to speak, or is it going to be a separate room?
Yeah, ADD. I'm glad you brought that up, because when you originally started like this question a minute ago, because I obviously, you know, my engine's running off a different track right now. Yeah, so we booked a separate adjacent building because last year or 2022, like, yeah, we had the floor, the main floor, the vendor area, and then they had a stage, and it was kind of like, you know, like it detracted away from sales from vendors. Some people were upset, et cetera, et cetera. It was tough to hear, you know. So we have a separate adjacent building where, you know, audio, like, just ordered some new fancy DJI like lapel mics with the, you know, whatever recorder it's called, and we got a full audio system, you know, projector,
that's cool.
Stuff,
I mean, I'm a little bummed out because I'm going to miss those talks. I'm going to have to be tending to my little frag tank.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know if I'm going to see them in person either. You know, like, again, we're all volunteers. You know, there's technically 9 of us that are, whether officers or board members, like, trying to get people to volunteer just hey, can you help out, like, couple hours here, like check tickets, you know, somebody put wristbands on, et cetera, like somebody keep the flow of like, all right, here's the next presentation. This is the way to the presentation.
What's the schedule in terms of the speakers? So you said the show opens at 10:30. When do the speakers start? And
yeah, it's give me 1 second. I don't.
Yeah, you don't have to.
I wish I had.
That's just a little.
It hasn't been 100% like public announced yet. But I want to say they're 45-minute presentations. I'm just trying to look through text messages of, all right, so I got one. This is tentative, right? So 11 a.m., 12:30, 2 p.m. Maybe this is a first draft because it looks like there's 1 or 2 missing. It looks like, you know, like, you know, whatever. This is when it was 11 to 5. Now we've gone in, you know, with the opening up a half an hour earlier. We just were able to secure. There's a lot of like outside, out-of-state vendors and stuff like that. So we were just able to secure, you know, with unfortunately a little bit of an additional cost to like a vendor's fee, like night before setup. Because, I mean, I didn't really have to set anything up other than bring raffle stuff last year, and I was up for like 42 hours at that point. You know, like exhausted, you know, like just over it, you know what I mean? Like it was like me, again, my 78, 79-year-old father, 2 daughter's boyfriend, 2 pickup trucks filled to the rim of, you know, merch and raffle donations. And we had to be there at 7 a.m. So I left my house at like 5 a.m. You know what I mean? On no sleep, drive for an hour and a half, 2 hour, set up for 3-4 hours, you know, plus it gives the time for like, you know, coral and fish or whatever to acclimate. They're not like going from a cold car.
Yeah, I'm probably not gonna. I'm not going there the night before. I mean, I'm like probably a little over 3 hours away, and I think I'm gonna just kind of like leave about 4 o'clock in the morning here in Vermont and get there like around. When are the doors open for vendors?
7 a.m.
So I think I'll be there at 7 a.m. and
I'm pretty sure 7 a.m. I'll definitely get the, you know, like I said, I mean, Joe and Corey have been like spearheading this. Thank God they've been giving me like a little bit of a longer leash to like take care of some of my own whatever, you know, issues or whatever going on. And yeah, they've you know been whatever, not detrimental, but like exponential into like the planning and like taking care of things and this and that.
I'm bringing like mini colonies because I stopped selling frags online back in the springtime, so I've got some very big little mini colonies that I'm going to be bringing. I actually had to frag the mini colonies back the other day just to transporting them. You know, that's the whole thing. But I'm looking forward to it, man. It should be a lot of fun. See you last time. I think I saw you was at Dong's place.
Yeah, Dong's right.
Is Dong going to be there?
Yep. I'd imagine Dong will be there.
He's not going to be
More than
speaking,
likely,
though, huh?
Dong will be there. Yeah, no, I guess I don't know if anyone reached out to him or not, because we did the Zoom thing with Rich Ross and Dong, like, kind of they wanted to meet or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. It's
have you guys given any thought to allowing members to do a little swapping before the or during the event? Is that part of the event? Because I remember when I used to go to the Manhattan Reefs frag swaps, and unfortunately they haven't had any of those for a few years, because I know they're having venue issues in terms of being able to find a place that's affordable as a venue.
Yeah.
But I thought that was always one of the coolest things when I used to go to frag swaps there, was that a lot of it was like in this little side area where you would kind of make these trades. You would beforehand kind of reach out to members and like, all right, I'll trade you this for that, and no money would exchange hands. So that's the pure sense of a swap.
Right. No, I 100% get it. Like, I personally don't have a problem with it. I'm sure vendors do, because vendors are paying hard-earned money for to sell their wares. Again, like I said, I mean, I'm sure things will be going on. Preferably, if there is things going on, it's going on in the parking lot. That way, there,
some side deals in the parking lot.
Hey, Keith's selling, this particular coral for $175. Well, this guy in the parking lot selling for 25. It's kind of a shitty way to do business. But.
Well, you know what? There's certain things though, because if you're doing swapping with other hobbyists and stuff like that, I mean, listen, it's different than buying it from a vendor. I think vendor pricing is you're paying some premium pricing for vendors, because they're going to be essentially selling it as like pest free type of stuff and aquaculture and all that stuff, and I think it's it's definitely worth paying a premium to have stuff that you can rely on in terms of being pest free. I mean, I always say to anybody, no matter who you get stuff from, you need to dip stuff. If it's advertised as pest free, you gotta be dipping that stuff. But so there are certain advantages from buying frags, corals, what have you, from a known vendor versus another hobbyist. But I guess it's like what you were talking about in terms of not having the cashish to get into the whole premium coral thing. That's a way for somebody to help kind of pay for the hobby without having to put out a lot of money for stuff.
Yeah, I'm just getting updates by my behind the scenes crew on my phone here. So to answer your question, yes and yes on the swap. We usually post a thread, and for any information regarding any of that stuff, go to our forum, for an update. www.bostonreefers.org. There will be any type of like information regarding the show, regarding the club, can all be found on the website. It seems like I got 75 people texting me right now. Because like I said, and like, Scavo said and others, like, I definitely derailed, It's like, hey, Paul, what color is the sky? I'm like, let me tell you what happened in 1983.
What's the deal, man, in terms of making this an annual event? Is that a challenge?
Yeah, I don't think it's a challenge. I think, like I said, like, we didn't do it last year because we wanted to do the collaboration with the Marine Magnet High School and like really push the education thing. And we had some tax issues. Like, I'll put it out there. I mean, it's public information. Like, we had some tax issues with a past treasurer that didn't file taxes. So that was a big thing, because in terms of like, any type of raffle, I mean, any type of donation or whatever, where there's a contributed goods receipt, now we're liable as income, et cetera, et cetera. And, like, so we just pressed the education piece. We didn't really have to come out of pocket for that. We used their location. Like, we printed merch and some shirts and stuff like that. And we had Dr. Michael Gertis from Capital Corals. He's up in like Buffalo, New York. He came down. He had had a booth set up. He gave a presentation of like, when like the Caribbean or the Florida waters were hitting like record highs and like, mass bleaching events and stuff like last year, a couple of years ago. So he was down there on the forefront, like experimenting or whatever, and seeing that firsthand. So he gave a presentation on that. We had on Zoom or Skype. We had Colin Ford of Coral Morphologic. He wanted to come up. It just didn't fit in the time schedule. And then Taras Pleskin, local Connecticut, what's the word? Not relative. Resident. Yeah, local resident. And since I don't know if he still works Top Shelf Aquatics or not, but we flew him up, gave a presentation on like what he's working on like different algae and stuff like that. And it was cool. It was something, another avenue to get involved with like a strictly based educational organization. And that was more based on education than it was a frag shop. I feel like we had maybe 12 to 15 actual vendors, and a lot of them were the marine science schools, like John Swanson has E.O. Smith Coral Project, once a year, every March, FFM, and, all the different schools down there. It is what it is, it's all about, I wish there was more schools in Massachusetts that were based like some of the marine science schools that there are in other states, because I'd love to start like going in and like implementing programs and stuff like that. And like I know when my oldest daughter, she's 22, again, here's a tangent, right? My oldest daughter, she's 22, like she was a senior, she had this 23, 24-year-old like marine biology teacher, like first year like this town ever offered marine biology. And she's like, oh, my dad goes to this thing called Frag Farmers Market, this marine biologist or like instructor or whatever teacher, like talks about the type of stuff. And, like I was able to make the introduction, but then COVID happened and nothing happened. You know what I mean? Like, but I mean, I'd love to, like I said, I'd love to, put together some type of talking point. Clearly I'm all over the place. Maybe somebody else can, I'm definitely not the brains of the operation. I'm just the good looks.
Another bozo on the bus.
And exactly, another bozo on the bus, right? So I'm definitely not the smart one, like I said, like I'm all over the place ADD wise. I don't know. I mean, I'd like to do a lot of things. It just comes down to availability, time. It's tough with the schools because there's a lot of bureaucratic stuff that you have to go through. You obviously have to get vetted. Et cetera, et cetera.
Todd from Champion Lighting, I'm sorry to cut you off, man. Said he's bringing the soft pretzels.
Hell yeah! I was on a diet. Last year, so I was like 3 weeks into keto, right? And here comes Todd with the pretzels, and I was like, dude, I can't eat it. I'm on keto, like I'm doing good, da da da. And I ate like 46 of those pretzels. So yeah, he'll be up. He made a comment with us, and he was like, I'll bring the soft pretzels again. Thankfully, I'm not on a diet right now.
I was wondering who's going to bring the beer. Sounds like there's going to be plenty of beer.
Yeah, possibly so. I know not.
Yeah.
But, I'll bring the waters.
So,
I'll have waters.
So you mentioned a couple of times, man, other clubs like Lyra, the Long Island Reefers Association, and you mentioned the Frag Farmers Market. What kind of collaboration goes on between clubs, if any?
So as of right now, like I know back in the day, Boston Reefers and Lyra used to do not so much like a collaboration of, say, like this is an actual event, but they'd invite us out as like a sister club, as like two premier clubs in the Northeast. So with Joe, I'm not gonna Aiello, I don't want to butcher his name, from the Long Island Aquarium. Like they'd organize like a behind the scenes tour, and they'd do like tropical fish collecting in the Long Island Sound. And Boston Reefers members would pay, whatever it was, $20. They would save them a spot on a some type of rental van or something. Go out to Long Island, meet up with the Lyra guys, girls, whatever. Do the tropical fish collecting. Go to the hobbies, trade corals, et cetera. So I know like that happened like years past. Like I never really got into that because I had two little kids. It was tough. Like I'd get up on a Saturday morning and go hit 15 stores with like a newborn and a 2.5-year-old.
That's tough, man.
Like see you for dinner or whatever. But like I reached out to Lyra last year when they had, they were talking about their event, and I was like, hey, listen, like the clubs used to intermingle back in the day, and like maybe we can start working towards something, whether it's a big event, meet in the middle or something like that. And, they invited us out last year. Their PR guy, reached out, like, as soon as it was announced, he was like, hey, do you guys want a spot? And, yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? Like, no questions asked. So, like, myself and our PR guy, Joe Scavo, we took the ferry over there, drove down there, whatever, we had dinner, like, shot the shit, hung out, set up, like, they got a new, like, meeting venue. It's they're like, they used to do it in a school, and it was kind of like a smaller venue, not crapping on that because it, whatever, it is what it is, but they just got like, they're like, somebody's a union electrician, and they got this new union hall, and it's amazing, and this banquet space, and they were able to secure that to, like, for pennies on the dollar and next to nothing, and, bigger location, great high-end, audio, video, etc. So, I mean, like, I'd like to see more collaborations with us, us and them. Some of those guys and girls are coming out next, 2 weeks, I think. And, they'll be out here. Like, we offered them a booth. I don't know if they're going to set up or not. We offered the schools booths. Some of the schools, I get, like Southern Connecticut to Northeastern Mass. Who wants to drive? Your ride's like 3 hours each way easily, right? A lot of people don't want to make that drive, like, I'd like to see it happen more often, and again, like, we looked at potentially even going like the Worcester Centrum, but that was like 10 grand just to get in the door. Never mind power drops, never mind table drops. It's like parking was an issue because it was across the street. You couldn't get validated parking. That was like an extra $1,500, et cetera. It was just, but like, to get something more centrally located, like, would be ideal, because then you get all of, Long Island, Manhattan, that the 5 boroughs, you got Connecticut, Rhode Island, all in New England. And, that'd be cool, but, we got to go where we can afford, unfortunately,
Deep
at the
Blue
moment.
Sea says, does anybody remember the BRS events, the big convention center in Boston? We got to get back to that. Is that a realistic thing? Is that a realistic goal, or is it just going to be too expensive?
I don't know what that would even. I remember the events, but I wasn't involved in, like, the politics side.
Planning.
You know what I mean? Like, I was trying to raise my daughters, or just being a dad or whatever. But I never get into it. I don't know what it cost back then. I can only imagine what it costs now, because a lot of times, like, with the unions in the city type of stuff, like, you got to have stagehands on presence. These guys are making $75, $100 an hour to stand around and, like, carry a table. Like, even to bring the water in. Like, I know at MACNA 16, and I don't want to speak out of terms. I don't want to say I definitely know, but from what I've told, like, there was, like, vendors bringing stuff in. Yeah, they had to have the stagehands, like, carry it from the parking lot or the loading zone. And it's just all an incurred cost. And, not knocking unions or anything like that, but sometimes it's a little, it is what it is sometimes, And I've been a union guy my entire life, so.
It's tough, man. It's not, I know at one point in time, you guys were really hoping to bring back the MACNA to Boston, but that's, in terms of whether or not that MACNA is going to continue to live on, I don't know, man. It's like they canceled the show again, so.
Yeah, that's a bummer. It sucks when anything like that, because like I said, that was like my first real introduction, real event. Like, I met a guy at Petco, tried to buy some animals. I had no idea how to keep. He's like, how long has your system been set up? I'm like, 3 days, dude. I just washed the tank out with ARID dish soap, and, like, knew nothing about nothing, and he's like, hey, go on, do you have AOL? And he was like, whatever. I found Boston Reefers, found out about the MACNA, and I went out there. But I know local clubs used to host them. I don't know when it stopped. The last guy that was in charge, I don't know about this current, like, group of people, Dr. something or other, like a year or two ago. Like, I reached out via email, and I was like, during COVID, so they had, like, the mini MACNA. It was like Zoom based. Yeah, and I was like, hey, can we purchase X amount of, to, like, run a contest for our members? can we purchase 25 tickets or whatever it was, and like, hey, whoever gets closest or has the best picture of this fish or this coral, you know, like if you want it, you can win an entry to this, you know, online magnet. And I inquired about like, how do we go about bringing magnet back in person into Boston? I'd love to see that, but it was all based off of Masna owned magnet, right? So it was all strictly like in-house at that point. You know, there was no longer any.
So man, I posted the a link to the thread on Boston Reefers.org for this frag swap. So you don't have to be a member of Boston Reefers Society to go, right?
Definitely not.
You're gonna pay a little bit more as a non-member.
Yeah, I think it's as of right now, because Vinny Altamirano from GHL, he donated a GHL Profilux P4 60E mega set. I think it's like $950 or something like that, as a raffle, like an early bird raffle prize. So I believe right now, and it doesn't matter if you're a paid Boston Reefers member, non-paid Boston Reefers member, just any random bozo on the bus, you know, like whatever, you know, Joe Blow down the street. If you go to our website and you purchase like pre-admission, it's a $20 buy-in, and that gives you a chance to win this, you know, $1,000 controller. But that ends at 11:59 p.m. on the 31st. So then after that, I believe it's $25 per person, and that's, you know, admission to the show, you know, whatever. It's just because of incurred costs of everything is through the roof.
But folks, I would recommend. I mean, what does a annual membership cost at Boston Reefers Society?
It's currently $30. That gets you full access to every forum on the website. It gives you private messages ability. It gives you access to equipment. We have Apogee MQ510 palm meters, you know, for basically for rent. You know what I mean? But it's $40. I mean, you know. So if you wanted to borrow it, it's $40. You meet the guy that had it last, you give him the $40. You keep it for a couple of weeks. The next guy that wants it from you, he's giving you $40.
I mean, folks,
you know, just in case anything happens.
If you're out there and you're not part of a Reefers Club and you want to join a Reefers Club, join BRS, man. It's just it's totally worth the $30 a year. I mean, that's not a lot of money, and there's a lot of freaking benefits. And you know, so you guys do is it monthly Zoom meetings with some pretty kick-ass guest speakers?
Yeah, we try to do the monthly Zoom meetings. It's not always feasible, just because, again, you know, we're all volunteers, unfortunately. I mean, I'd love to sit here and tell you, like, I got XYZ lined up, but I don't, you know what I mean?
Easy.
Like, we had Mackley on last month, you know, that was cool, on. You know. We had Rich Ross on with Dong. I don't know. We you know, I mean, we have a YouTube channel, you know, where information's there, like on the website or the forum, the Boston Reefers. There's always a what's new or what's happening. There's always some type of link, you know, for like a tour or contest. I mean, I'd even like, we used to do a lot of things of like, you know, packing a bunch of different cars and go to different people's houses. A lot of people, you know, weirded out by strangers in their house. I personally don't care who comes there. My father's a little taps, you know, so he's up. If you don't like it, he'll let you know. Type, you know, old school guy. But
that's the cool thing, though, man. I had like a whole busload of people came out to when I used to live in Connecticut. There was a whole bus load of people that came out from Long Island. I can't remember the name of the reefing club, but they took a road trip, like on a party bus.
Yeah. That's like what we used to do when we used to go down and like fish collect, you know, in the Long Island Sound. I'd like to see more of that. Like we've done it like during COVID, where like, you know, hey, we're gonna have a Zoom meeting on you know, basically show off your system, your setup. The next person wants to talk. Some people are into it, some people aren't. It seems a lot more people want the in-person meetings. And again, like, it's not my personal money, but it sucks when you're spending $2,000 of like, you know, donated money, other people's money, and 4 people, 5 people show up. You know, there's no real like commitment compared to like back in the day where you'd rent a hall and there'd be 150 asses and chairs.
Yeah.
You know, and now it's like so-and-so's little kid running through the parking lot in like It ain't my kid. Why do I feel like I gotta watch your kid while you're sitting at the bar? You know what I mean? Type of deal. So it is what it is. Obviously all over the place.
So, dude, what else did we miss? Anything? Anything else you wanted to pass along there in terms of the show? It's November 9th, and that's the show. Anything else about Boston Reefers Society that we didn't touch on?
Yeah, sign up. Elections are in December. Volunteer. I need a break. I'm just kidding. No. Like, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for this club. It's done, a myriad of good for me in my life. Like I was saying, I have a back injury, et cetera, et cetera. Really plays with the mindset. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've always been the type of, the sense of community and like the family and like that aspect of like being a member of the club. And you say it every week, you know what I mean? Of like join your local fish club, like it's like 8 cents a day. Like I went to Starbucks yesterday and got 2 small coffees and it was like $14. You know what I mean? But I can get information, meet a mentor, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. Like I said, I've been doing this 20 years. I don't know my ass from my elbow. Just another bozo on the bus again,
Well, you're being a little hard on yourself, man. I think a little,
maybe.
You've had some success there, so I think you're set up pretty well.
Yeah, it'll get there again. It's just time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Well, I'm looking forward to going there and seeing everybody and seeing you and what have you. It was a great time the last time, so it should be a lot of fun. I'll keep my fingers crossed. It's not going to be snowing here, so I don't have like a little white knuckle drive. It already snowed here. We had like about almost a foot of snow at the top of the mountains about a week ago. So I've already been skiing, which is crazy. And today.
How many days? Because I know you got like almost. Would you have 200
I had 200 consecutive. I had 200
consecutive
consecutive days last season. That's just not going to be feasible this year. But yeah, but I've started earlier this year.
How deeper is your addiction than mine on SPS and another expensive hobby?
Yeah, I got a real problem. I got many problems.
I'm looking at the 45-day weather forecast for you. So
okay.
Looks like it's going to be. Oh, wait, that's October. No, November 9th, 50 degrees.
That's good.
But if you'll
That's good, because I don't want it to be freezing cold where I got to have to transport corals on a cold car. That's the, I have to wrap up with the blankets.
That's no fun either.
All right, dude. Well, listen, Paul, man, thank you again for joining me as a guest, and I really appreciate you in terms of all. I really appreciate you doing the moderating all the shows and being a fly on the wall there. And it's a journey here, man, but it's a lot of fun, and
it's worth it. It's worth it. Just the friendship and the camaraderie is better than anything else. Like I'd rather, like I know you and I had talked and like even like kind of joked around like when I think Rich Ross and Dong were on and I was like, hey Keith, you're gonna be the moderator tonight, and he's like, yeah, and like professionally you're thanking me, but seriously, like I thank you because it gives me a sense of belonging. We got a good friendship, like I feel part of, it's good for the mental, and it gives me something to do on a Tuesday night, So thank you again. Like I appreciate you and everyone else that's out there.
Next week. So this is the 198th episode of this show, and next week is going to be the first recorded version of Rappin with ReefBum. Yeah, because I'm going to be away, and my guest. I recorded the episode this morning with Doug Dorrit from Frag Farm UK. And he in the UK, so he's not as crazy as like Claude would be and stay up at 2 o'clock in the morning and do his show. So he was like, I can't do that. I was like, all right, we're gonna record it.
Yeah.
And we'll see how it goes in terms of recording an episode of this Rappin with ReefBum. So next week I have to figure it out, but maybe I'll release the episode at 7 o'clock on next Tuesday night just to kind of keep the timing the same.
So does that mean I have the night off?
I could run it as a live, man, and we could just kind of sit there and watch and.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm more than likely to be watching
just
it.
Just do it live, and it'll be recorded, but can keep the chat open or something. I don't know. That's probably a little stupid, but.
Nah, it's never stupid. There's no stupid question, right?
Anyway, all right, man. Thanks. I also want to thank the sponsors one more time. Polo Reef. Make sure to check out Polo Reef's new YouTube video that drops this Friday. The Polo Reef team dives deeper into reef tank lighting. Many interesting topics are discussed. They also take a look at some interesting reef lighting products and techniques that are getting some attention. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel at Polo Reef for video drop notifications. Champion Lighting and Supply. Besides being a place for hobbyists to purchase saltwater aquarium supplies online, Champion Lighting is also a wholesale distributor for many popular brands. If you own an aquarium store or an aquarium service company, contact Champion Lighting through their website at championlighting.com to set up a wholesale account. Say hello to Todd and the crew at the Frags Giving event on November 9th, because they're going to be there. Fauna Marin. I do use the Fauna Marin Reef ICP Total Test Kit, which gives a quick, accurate, and easy overview of over 90 water values in reef aquariums, from macro elements to trace elements and pollutants. You get a complete overview with corresponding dosage and action recommendations. I am a certified Fauna Marin ICP test advisor, so if you want some help interpreting the results, you can select me when you submit an ICP test. And you could also purchase those ICP tests from Fauna Marin at reefbum.com, as well as other Fauna Marin products. Joe Scavo, thank you so much, man, for that super chat. I really appreciate it. Also want to thank Paul. Again, I thank you, appreciate you, man, for being the moderator of this live stream. It looks like we got through this okay without an actual moderator. So that's cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing when you got a good group of people.
Also want to let you know that all episodes of Rappin With ReefBum are available as podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Amazon. As I mentioned, the next episode will be taped, and I'll release that on Tuesday, October 29th at 7 p.m. Doug's going to be the guest from Frag Farm UK. Some interesting stuff, some things that he will be revealing for the first time ever on YouTube. So definitely tune in for that. Thank you, Corey Page, man, for that super chat. Appreciate that. You can check out the full upcoming schedule of guests on reefbum.com under the YouTube section. Until next time, be safe and be well.